the strategies that you need to use to have go-to-market success? Because you've 10x 4 or 5 different companies that you've been involved with. Is it different or is it a lot of the same?
It's different, but it's the same. What I mean, you have the same process and you have to discover what to do. This kind of process, you start with observation. With this observation, you are going to have what's the next thing I should do. Tons of different ideas. Then you need to prioritize them. How? Depending on the impact that this may have. Maybe you need to go to other countries, other markets. Maybe you need to even change what kind of products are you selling, repeat, and every time you have more knowledge. The final solution that you are offering is going to be personalized. There is not one size fits all.
And if you're fishing where the fish have no money, a luxury market in a poor neighborhood, it's never going to work.
And now the man you've been waiting for, John, the sales machine, Rankins.
All right, let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is the head of growth at Product Hackers and one of Forbes 100 most creative in business. He scaled 4 startups to 10x revenue, built one of Europe's top experimentation programs, and transformed growth teams from a single hire into high-performing powerhouses. He is a data-driven strategist and SaaS product-led growth enthusiast. For those of you who are in the go-to-market journey, listen up for some actionable frameworks and insights to unlock rapid sales, leads, and growth. Please welcome to the show, Product Hackers, Juanma Varo.
Thank you for inviting me. This is a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to share everything I can with the audience.
Well, I look forward to this. So, Juanma, why don't we jump into how did you get involved with, taking companies and helping companies build their go-to-market strategy?
Well, actually, I started with my own company. This was a small startup, and as we had not a huge budget, we had to go to very innovative and creative tactics to try to get the people in. So we scaled and we had like 10,000 downloads in the first year that we built. And during this journey, I learned that it doesn't matter how good or bad is your product. Of course, it's important, but the most important thing is how you can distribute and how you can find the people who is going to love your product. So at that moment, I changed my mindset, because it's not just about building products people love. That is something that I recommend that you do, but definitely you need to find a way to have a process which is scalable and repeatable. Because when you are scaling a company, this is about how you can repeat and grow while you are facing new problems and new markets, and every time you are going to a higher audience. So during all this journey, I'm a very fan of growth and digital products. So I was learning a lot by myself, and here I am.
And now here you are. And tell me a little bit about what you're doing now and some of the companies that you've helped and your company has helped scale to 10x. And what are the strategies you're using to do that?
Okay. Actually, I work as the head of growth at Product Hackers, and Product Hackers is a consultant company that we help other companies through the end-to-end growth strategy. That means we set the strategy, we align the goals, and then we execute all the roadmap that we need to make. We have engineering team, designs team, all our growth team is completely involved into the strategy of our customers, and we lead the end-to-end process to get results. That our goal is that our companies, our customers grow. And how we make that is through experimentation, and thanks to our customers that they give us their keys. Okay, you have here our keys and please help us to grow. Some companies that maybe you may know, one of them is Sony Pictures, that we working with them. And also we have a lot of IBEX 35. This is the most important companies in Spain. It is, for example, Zara or Inditex. That is one of the biggest companies, one of the biggest companies in the world. And also we work with a lot of B2B SaaS, but also with e-commerce, because we found that it's very direct how we can help e-commerce to grow. Because in a B2B SaaS, sometimes when, and you know about it, when you add the sales team into the strategy, depends on how long are your business, your sales cycle. So we try to align all these teams and then execute it, and we validate which is the most probable road to grow.
And and you do it end to end. So you actually go into the company with your team and you execute the strategy. You build and then you execute the strategy as well.
That's it. Everything. We believe that if you are just a strategist, you can validate that your ideas are good or are bad. But if you just apply some tactics, you maybe are not offering an extra value. So we want to keep all the process from the strategy to the execution. And this is our main differentiation from the market, because we want to apply growth in every step on the sales process.
Yeah, and that's a major differentiator. And I was just on with Kyle Coleman, and his big thing is different is better than better. So do you find, like, when you work with Sony, you work with Zara, you work with some of the biggest companies in Europe, do you find that it's different for every single company, the strategies that you need to use to have go-to-market success? Because you've 10x'd 4 or 5 different companies that you've been involved with. Is it different, and or is it a lot of the same?
It's different, but it's the same. What I mean, you have the same process and you have to discover what to do. This kind of process, this is one step, another step, another step, but the result you are getting after making this observation, it's completely different. What I mean, you have 6 steps. You start with observation. With this observation, you are going to have, okay, what's the next thing I should do? And you can have tons of different ideas. Then you need to prioritize them. How? Depending on the impact that this may have. For example, Zara, it's possible to do a 10x. Yes, it's possible, but it's very, very difficult. Maybe you need to go to other countries, other markets. Maybe you need to even change what kind of products are you selling. But for example, I went into an education school. So for them to grow 10x was easier. Why? Because they just need to add more products, more courses to sell, but also find the people in this go-to-market strategy. Where are they? And if this new audience have the willingness to pay you, because it's not just about how big is a market, but if you can capture that. So what I mean is, you apply this framework and then the strategy is going to be different, because every company is unique. Of course, there are some things that you can repeat, and every time you have more knowledge, this experience is going to help you to craft new strategies. But definitely the final solution that you are offering is going to be personalized. There is not one size fits all.
Yeah, and I get it. And that's almost always the case, especially because if you try to be everything to everyone, you become nothing to no one. And if you're fishing where the fish have no money, then, a luxury market in a poor neighborhood, it's never going to work. So let's talk about the 4 different companies, or at least 1 or 2 of the different companies that you've worked with that you've 10x'd. And how did you do that?
Okay. One of them was this education company. So I built the B2B department that wasn't existing. And the first thing I saw is that this new market is completely different about how a B2C student is behaving, because usually the goal that a student may have is, I want to progress in my career, I want to get new knowledge, or maybe I want just to have this kind of certification to apply to a new job. So those are the needs they have. But which kind of needs have a company? So the first thing that I did was, okay, let's craft this ideal customer profile to understand first which companies want to invest in their teams and where are they and how much they want to spend on that. So when you have this profile, then you need to find the right channels. And this is where experimentation and get into, because I tried a lot of different channels to find the right people. Because if you are going to through email outbound, okay, maybe you have a 1% of reply rate, but this is not enough. So we started to use LinkedIn. So we started to use events, webinars, and then we found after you need to be very data driven. And then we found that when you go into a personal or an in-person meeting, the conversion rate was crazy. So when we have this opportunity here, what can we do to force people to come with us? Because we saw that our sales team, they had a lot of power of persuasion. So the most difficult or the most or the most expensive is your product, or the most friction offers, you are going to need more persuasive channels. So in our case was sales. So we started to run a lot of conferences where we can get a lot of decision makers, and then into that conferences offer some spaces, some rooms, so they may have some meetings, and those meetings had an incredible close rate. And this was the sales machine that we started to build. Okay, let's build conferences, let's get the people, and then let's go to the meeting. That was one of the growth loops that we built that help this company to grow 10x. And the second one, for example, it was product hackers. When I was hired as the first growth team member, we were making, I remember, was like 400,000, and now we are beyond 6 million. So this happened into 4 years, and how we did that was connecting marketing, sales, and our growth team. How's that? We work into a framework where everyone is connected, because sometimes what happens is that marketing is working on their own KPIs. No, I work on leads and I work on impressions. I have 200 downloads. Okay, and then sales, they are going to the I want marketing qualified leads or sales qualified leads. No, my own metric is the close rate or the value of your pipeline, but they are not aligned, and sometimes they even see each other as a competitor. But when you put the correct goals for all of them and you try to align them, for example, in our case, we also align the growth team. Because if our growth team just work to maybe run experiments or make our companies, our customers be happy from a net promoter score, for example, they are good goals, but they are separate. They are not working for the same thing. So what we did was, okay, let's put the same goal for everyone. This is success cases. For having a success case, the sales team can't sell any customer, because if this customer, they are going to pay, okay, but if we are not going to have success with them, they are not going to fuel our sales machine. So what we started to do is focusing on the companies, and this is the go-to-market strategy we run was, okay, let's focus on the customers we are pretty sure that we are going to have success. Why? Because if we have success with this company is going to talk with another one. And also we can publish this case study, this success case, so more people download it. more pipeline, more sales. So we started to fuel this sales machine also by aligning all of them. As you see, both cases are different, but started from the same thing, that is this observation of the data and understanding which things are the strategies or the opportunities that most move the needle of the business.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And it's a lot of teamwork, right? So rather than individuals, it's just achieving their own goal. It's a team-led growth. And we've dealt with it even in my own company, from sales and marketing, people pointing fingers, your leads suck. No, you can't sell. The marketers say you cannot sell. The salespeople say your leads suck. And it's a real thing. And it's a real thing in a lot of different companies. And getting a go-to-market strategy right is not easy. So there's a lot of innovation and iteration along the way. And that's what I'm getting from you. But let's talk about how you guys, that's your end game is from start to finish to transform a company. And you go in, you develop the strategy, you implement it. But for tech founders or startups out there that are on a tight budget, and you guys were, you were doing 400,000 in sales, and then you went to 6 million. But when you're doing 400,000 in sales, depending on your head count and how many people are at the company, there's not a lot of budget. So what advice would you give startups or companies with a limited budget? What are the tools and tactics or strategy they can use to drive explosive growth?
Very good question. And also you mentioned something very interesting, that is when marketing and sales, they are pointing each other. And now I'm going to answer your question, and then I am going to recover that thing. Okay. So my recommendation is you need to start with data. When you start with data, there are no opinions. There are facts. There are evidence. There is not, no, I think that is going, no. Those are facts. So don't get crazy, and this is in an early stage startup, don't get crazy trying to measure everything. This is not about data. It's not about measuring everything. It's measuring what is important for your business. So let me explain you how with a B2B SaaS, we made this, okay, in our early stage startup. B2B SaaS, they thought that their product was too complex to be sold by self-service. So they were always trying to sell it through a sales team. So you ask for, I want to talk with a sales representative, and this took a lot of effort, but also this is expensive, because having a sales team is more expensive than just having a very nice form that you can do self-service. But it was half true, because the product was too complex to sell just by themselves. So what we made was analyzing this data. Okay, what is happening here, and why we have this conversion rate here, and what happened if we try a self-service? So we saw that self-service generated less revenue than sales, but there are other ways to do that. So we implemented a new sign-up form where you have to answer some questions. So we made a low-touch demo representative. So what really happened was that we turned our sales team into a customer success team that helped with the personalized problem that everyone had. Why did I tell you this? Because this started with data. So my recommendation for other companies is one, don't assume your opinions. Test it. If you think, no, because we have been doing this always at the same thing, no, because all competitors are, maybe your competitors are wrong. So you need to assume that maybe you are wrong. And it's good to be wrong. Prove it. If you prove that you are wrong, means that you are growing. So that will be my first advice. Don't assume everything and test it. And the second one is, if you want to test it, you need data. So measure what it matters and then start with this. Just with these two things, this is going to get you into a loop where you are going to find new opportunities. And definitely the most impactful thing is hire talented people and retain them because they are going to help you to find these new creative things and these innovative tactics. That will be the three maybe key points: data, test it, everything, and find the right people.
Yeah, and data and testing is even easier than finding the right people because you can do that and you don't need a rocket scientist to do it. You know, I like how you've done it differently with a lot of different companies. And if I look at even my own situation and the sales machine, we're a software sales performance management system. Like we simplify and eliminate admin for salespeople. So we just give them the power to be better, faster, more efficient, and solve more problems more often for companies. So in your situation, you obviously deal with a lot of different companies. Where do you think what's the biggest mistakes companies make in their go-to-market strategy?
I would say that some companies, they are always chasing the every shining thing. For example, they are in a meeting and they find a new idea. Wow, this is amazing. Let's do that. Okay, next week they find another solution for a magical solution from their problems. Okay, let's do that. So actually, they are chasing too many things at the same time, and maybe you are not going to be able to understand what is working and, most important, why. This error, this mistake could lead you to a loop of, even I think they have a name, it's called like death loop cycle, where
Yeah, I'm telling you, it can be a death loop. If you continue doing the things wrong and you're not learning from them, yeah, you know, it's painful.
yeah, because even it's sad because you see a lot of people putting a lot of effort and there is a lot of activity, but there is no movement.
Yeah, it's like being on a treadmill. Hey, folks, if you're enjoying this episode and you're picking up what I'm putting down and what the guests are actually putting out there, do me a favor, like and comment what you liked about the episode, or even comment what would you like to hear? What topics would you like to hear in the future? Because believe me, it matters. I read absolutely every single one of them, and I want to bring you more and more value to help companies scale so that we can grow this podcast to make a bigger difference. Now let's get back to the show. A lot of activity. You keep on running, but you don't go anywhere.
That's it. We can call it the treadmill cycle.
Yeah, and you know what's even worse? You know, being on an elliptical, because there's even more movement. You got arms and legs and you're fledgling along and you ain't going nowhere. You know, I've been in that movie and that's a terrible movie. That you know what that movie is? That's a horror movie. Have you seen a lot of horror movies or been a part of them?
Yeah, definitely. Some companies, they don't understand how important is also the mood of the team. Because I always heard the best sales people are the ones who has the easiest product to sell. For me, apply the same concepts here. If you are trying to have a lot of activity but you are not moving, you start to frustrate. And when you get frustration into the teams, this is not going to improve your situation. And this is going to be worse and worse and worse. So you need to go a step back to think and to start to work with a process, because probably this is the main mistake that some companies do, is they just do things because they do things, but they don't know why, and they don't have a process to
They
break.
just do things. They stay busy, right? Everybody's busy. You're busy putting out content. You're busy doing your podcast. You're busy running your company, but you're not going anywhere. Yeah, I think, you know, that's when you really need a checkup from the neck up, right? And a lot of us have blind spots. In actuality, all of us have blind spots. You have yours, I have mine. And so how have you dealt with different companies and do you ever deal with resistance when you work with different companies? And they think they're right, but they're consistently getting it wrong.
Yeah, and this is tough, okay? And this happens to us a lot because we work with very intelligent people, you know. We work with the most important companies in our country, and it's very difficult to say someone you are doing the things wrong. You can't actually. What I always say is data is cheaper than opinions, and this is important for them because we are not here to talk about our egos. I don't want to be smartest than you, and I don't want also that you are smarter than me. We are a team. We are a team, and we have a goal, and we need to stay together and going for that goal. So when you try to put in a conversation, I think I think that, no, because this is another, we did it in the past. Yeah, but markets change. And this is something that we deal every day. No, we tried this like 2 years ago. Yeah, but maybe 2 years ago, ChatGPT doesn't exist, for example. So markets are continuously evolving. So you need to test it again. And when you move this conversation to a data-driven culture, everyone feels more comfortable, except the bosses, because the bosses is like, now I can't do what I want to because I need to grabbing some evidence, share it with the people. Definitely the team members, they are happier to work in this environment where data is not sacred, but is very, very important.
Okay, and you've helped a lot of different companies. Some companies, use a traditional methodology for outbound or prospecting new leads to go to market. And have you ever experienced companies having to change their go to market strategy? I mean, obviously they've changed their go to market strategy, but then a lot of companies use product led growth. How do you influence and or use product led growth in your strategy?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And for example, we have an example of a company. This is a human resources product. So this is for business, and they didn't want to try self-service, this product-led growth and grow by the product, because they thought that their sales team are the only one capable of creating the new profiles, going to the company, trying to get the requirements, because as this has to be into all the company, there is a lot of paperwork. So if you want to be product-led growth, the first thing you need to change is your product, because of course at that moment the product doesn't offer the opportunity to make it self-service. And then if you have complex products, you also need to educate your prospects. So those are two tactics. I won't say easy to implement because you need to build product, but definitely to jump to a product growth strategy, the first thing is talk about product. Is your product ready? Can your product be product growth? Because a lot of people want to be product growth. Yeah, but maybe you can't because maybe you don't have enough data, or maybe because you still don't know which is your market. So some people want to start with this product, but maybe it's not the finance guy or girl, the one who is going to hire you, and maybe you need to go to an executor, or maybe you need to go to HR specialist. So after you don't have this kind of product market fit, don't forget about product growth. At least in my experience, and I have been advising a lot of early stage B2B SaaS, they always want to build product. No, because we have the best engineers and we have the most intelligent product folks. Yeah, but maybe you need someone that gets you into your audience. And this is the first step.
Yeah. And so, what do you think? What process do you have for identifying the ideal client profile for companies?
Yeah, we have. I mean, the market is huge. Okay, we are 7,000 million of people in, or 8,000 million people in the world. So maybe you may take a 1% of all of this. This is crazy if you get that. Even if you get a 0.1%, you have a lot of people. But how are you going to get that? Because you can't be concise and personalized for everyone, because this 1% of a huge thumb, what I use is a thumb Samsung. Okay, so if you want to go to everywhere and to get everyone into your product, probably you are doing it wrong. What you need is break it down. Okay, from all those people, who are the one who is going to get the most value of my product? Then when you find this and you can measure it, that's a good thing. Because if you have, when you decide where you are going to go, then you can measure who retains. And the retention is key, because today I can sell you something today. Okay, John, I have this is awesome. And because I could be I am persuasive, maybe, or because we have confidence, or you can trust on me. Okay, I'm going to buy it. But after 2 months, are you still using it? Probably not. Or maybe yeah. In case that you are not using it, this means that this product is not for you. So you are not getting enough value. Maybe you have a very good sales team, but there is no retention. So in this go-to-market strategy, what you need to find is the size, well, the segment of the market who is going to retain. Once you have it, then you need to increase the value, expand the amount of money that they are going to pay you, but also find a new one segment. For every segment, you can personalize, because I can go for podcast hosts that use, I don't know, some kind of microphones, but maybe also I can go to some DJs that they are also attracted by this kind of microphones. Okay, so I can lead two different messaging, two different landing pages, two different way of approaching even different channels to sell the same product. If I'm trying to sell the same product to everyone, or you are Apple and your branding is amazing, or you are going to have some problems and others are going to do it better than you.
Yeah. And can you tell me about a time, because you've had a lot of success. Tell me about a time that you actually created a strategic plan, right, for a go-to-market strategy and it failed. And what did you learn from it?
That I love that question. I love that question, and I'm going to reply to you. We had a customer that they wanted a go-to-market strategy. It's like, okay, we have this product and we need to go for using this framework. Let's find new customers because we want to grow 50%. I think it was the goal. We started to apply all of this. Okay, we did it. We segment, we find the messaging, everything, but wasn't having traction. And we tried channels, we tried different audiences, different segments, but this product had no retention, and we didn't know why. And if we are using the same thing that is working with all the customers, what happened here? So maybe we started to think, maybe the positioning of this product is not the correct. So after doing different tests during 2 months, and during 2 months, if we can't move the needle, you start to feel nervous, because they are paying to you to get customers, and we can't, what's happening. And then we realized that the brand positioning wasn't clear, and they didn't know what are their value proposition, how they were different from others. So we need to go back and talk with them, and was like, you have a problem on your positioning. Find a specialist on positioning, because they are going to help you, because we don't do positioning. We do go-to-market, experimentation, but we are not experts on branding and positioning. So we had to stop working with them. We were honest and was like, we need first to fix this, and then you can come again. And
Okay, great. I love that. So sometimes you just got to move on. Sometimes you got to say no. I have a lot of opportunities come our way. And for me, if I don't think we're the right fit, I just say, we're not the right fit. Potentially you need to go here, or you need to go there. And, or a lot of the times the the people want more than they're willing to invest in. So it's just not a fit for us because ultimately we have to earn money to be sustainable and scalable and serve the clients we have, not try to serve everyone and not take care of the people that we have. Right. So I get it. And a lot of the times, in addition to companies getting it wrong, they don't want to spend the time and invest the money into the real root cause of the problem. How many times have you went into a company and they ask you for a go-to-market strategy, but what they really need is a deeper root cause that's causing the problem or not allowing them to grow? Have you ever experienced that?
Not directly, because when once they pay for something, because they are in a stage that they know that they need help. So usually we offer it. And as you said, if they are not fit for us, we can't continue. Because, for example, I told you before, we were nervous. Yeah, 2 months with no results, your team is suffering. But also, you need to put an extra effort because you want to have success. So it's more expensive for you. You are frustrating your team and you are not getting results. So this is not aligned with the strategy. But answering your question, usually when we find the root, or at least an idea of where the root can be, they usually are very open. Or at least when you work with data, you try to turn these opinions into evidence. People listen to you, at least after the first month, because during the first month you need to convince them that data is most important, is more important. But definitely when you move into the data driven, they understand that solving the roots of the problem are key to have success.
Hey, tell us about what has been your greatest success story working with the company.
The greatest, actually, I would say that in Product Hackers has been by growing from, I was the first hire for the growth team, and it was 9 people in the company, and now we are 129. But as I mentioned this during this interview, I'm going to find another example, and this can be, well, it's more inside of the company, okay? But we had an assumption, and it was, if we increase the number of experiments that we launch to all our customers, they are going to get more results. So the greatest success here was to have go-to-market strategy, but not for our customers, for the talent. So what we did as the growth team was, okay, the employees are also a market. Where are they? So we applied the same thing to find the smartest, or at least the fittest people for the position, how to attract people, how to make our brand attracting, how to which channels should we use. And we started to think about our employees as a new market, even the sign up forms, because we started, I remember we ran an experiment that it was a test. Okay, was, let's try what is your level in growth. We had like 2,000 applications for our position. So of course, we needed also a sign-up process, filtering that it's the same that you can do in marketing and sales. You need to filter the candidates or filter the companies to know who are fit. So for me, I would say that the greatest success was applying the same methodology for go-to-market for customers for the employees.
For recruiting. Yeah, I love it. Because, we're selling ourselves all the time, even to the people who work for us. Why do they stay with us? They're sold on our vision. They're sold on our mission, or they're sold on our culture. So that's brilliant to bring in your own people. Next thing is, you earlier talked about ChatGPT or, things are different. How are you currently using AI to enhance go-to-market strategy, and what tools are you using?
Actually, I'm using Perplexity for research, and then I build some agents and ChatGPT. So how I use this? Well, the first, when we are going to a go-to-market strategy, as I said before, the first thing you need to understand is your market. Okay, so for doing that research, competitor research, segments of the audience, demographics, psychographics, all of this is intense in time because you need to do a lot of research. So with Perplexity, we may make this research easier or at least faster. Then we just need to see if this data is correct because we still don't delegate everything on AI. So we need to supervise that. So after using this Perplexity for this, we run into agents. Agents, what we are building it with N8N. And what we do is, okay, we have here all the information that we grab it. So we have built an expert in our methodology. So this agent is going to use all the data that has been researched into our framework. So this framework goes into steps and some context, all the things we need. And then the last point is, okay, so now with ChatGPT, try to summarize it, or maybe just using it for sending an email. But usually ChatGPT is for more answers. So when we want something fast, we are going to ChatGPT. But if we want to do the methodology, the research, we use Perplexity with some specialized agents that we have different agents. Okay. So for example, depending even on the industry, depending on some characteristics, we use one agent or.
And when you say agent, are you talking about building a chat bot, or are you talking about how it's done in Perplexity?
Yeah, an agent is like a chatbot with instructions. For example, what happened with ChatGPT? With ChatGPT, every time you want to do a prompt, you need to give them him or her the context and what you want to expect, which kind of result you want, and they don't have persistency in the session. You can do this with GPTs, but for us, it's easier to do it with N8N because you can connect it and it's automated. So an agent is like an AI employee, okay, that they always know which kind of information they need to understand. And also, as their research, they are going to structure the data in some ways. This agent always have the same instructions. Okay, read it, analyze it, extract the most important thing, and then generate a new document with this framework, with this paragraph, with this amount of characters. And then when you have all of this, the agent has finished their task. So this agent, what it does is completing attacks very precisely.
Yeah, and it gives you more time to build strategy ultimately because it can do it sooner rather than later. Amazing. You guys are, Forbes 100 most creative in business. Excellent work. Congratulations on all your success, Juanma. Where can people find you and reach out to you to work with you?
I am very active on LinkedIn. I usually like to share methodologies, frameworks, case success, and other things that I try to invent. And this is the best way people can reach out to me. And I always open to a good conversation and talk about how companies grow. So if someone wants more information or they are just curious about it, give me a chat.
Congratulations on all your success. Ladies and gentlemen, Juanma Varo, you want to go to market? Reach out to him, connect with him. He does it for Zara. He does it for Sony Pictures. He can do it for you. Thanks for being on the show, Juanma.
Thank you, John, for the invitation. It's been a pleasure.
That's a wrap, folks. Thanks for joining me today. And if you got value from this episode, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and refer a friend. And if you want even more value, go to thesalesmachine.com, click on resources, and there's tons of resources there to increase profits and drive performance in your business. Right on, come on.